on the circuit, and it puts on a performance you would not expect from such a large machine. A heavy lift transport helicopter, a twin rotor design, but of course it has to be manoeuvrable for operations in the heat of the battlefield, and that's where these helicopters have spent so much time in the last few years on this British military commitment to the Middle East. Running in straight towards us over the hills, rolling tail of the Chinook out in front of us. Useful exercise area for British military helicopters. If you come to IWM Duxford on a non-display day, quite often you'll see the Army Air Corps Apache attack helicopters exercising in those parts, but here it is coming over the horizon, running in to start its sequence, pulling straight up for a very impressive nose over. This is the Boeing Chinook HC-4. So there it is, pulling up for this opening nose over, which will be combined with a 450-degree spiral descent. The 2015 RAF Chinook display team, headed up by the aircraft captain, Flight Lieutenant Brett Jones. He's a qualified helicopter instructor on number 27 Squadron. He's got over 3,000 hours on the Chinook. With him on the flight deck today is co-pilot Flight Lieutenant James Kingham. In now for a pass they call the roller coaster, and it won't be difficult to see why. A pretty vertiginous ascent, and once again nosing over sharply. It really is a mighty machine, the Chinook. Weighs 15 tons, and we're seeing it here in the range of its flight envelope, going at speeds of up to 180 or so miles an hour. We're towards town centre now for the first of the quick stops. Some of these manoeuvres have a lot of tactical relevance. Here's another one, the so-called Gorni climb, named after Gorni Fakuf, the base in Bosnia from which Chinooks operated during the Balkans crises of the 1990s. The helicopter spiralling away as quickly as possible so as to get out of range of enemy ground fire. An 810 degree spiral descent follows. And there was a good demonstration of the characteristic blade slap of the twin rotor Chinook. The RAF is the second biggest operator of these helicopters after the US Army. A type that first appeared in the early 1960s in time for participation with the US Army in the Vietnam War, and it's still in production in much upgraded form today. Another quick stop, this time to get into position with the open rear ramp to us, and I'm sure the crewman with the big orange hands on the ramp would appreciate a wave back. Underneath you might be able to see, particularly if you've got a long camera lens, the 3 hooks under the fuselage which are employed for carrying underslung loads. And even with a load dangling from each of those, it can still carry a very substantial internal load capacity. That's one of the attributes that makes the Chinook so versatile, and that it's proved time and again in RAF service. They were employed in the Falklands War in the South Atlantic in 1982. They saw extensive use in support of peacekeeping forces in Beirut. Then again in the Gulf War of 1991, throughout the 1990s in the Balkans, and on into the conflicts of more recent times in Afghanistan and Iraq. All of the crew members on board today have done tours of duty as part of Operation Herrick in Afghanistan. Such has been the demand for these helicopters in theatre that they haven't been able to fulfil as many display commitments in recent years. This year that's changed a bit, and we're delighted to see the Chinook back at Duxford after quite a few seasons' absence. And we see it in Chinook HC4 form, the Mark IV, an upgrade of the earlier Mark II. We also bought a number of Mark III Chinooks. They're being turned into Mark Vs as part of this program. And also recently purchased has been a new complement of 14 Mark VI Chinooks. These updates, including new cockpit displays and mission management equipment. Now we're about to see something that no other aircraft on the programme will be able to perform today. The Chinook coming in for a rolling landing on the hard runway, touching down, and we'll shortly see them backing up. Once they start reversing, they'll be at about 30 knots when they get airborne again in reverse. They'll go up to about 150 feet. Once again, the crewman will be waving at you. Yes, thank you for your appreciation. A superb demonstration of this sizable aircraft. There are 3 squadrons of them stationed at RAF Odium in Hampshire, numbering in total about 40 aircraft, but that bow concluded the display by the 2015 Chinook display team of the Royal Air Force, headed by Flight Lieutenants Brett Jones and James Kingham. They'll be landing on the grass on the far side of the runway where they were parked earlier. We'll see them airborne briefly again later in the afternoon, and the helicopter will be departing to Cambridge Airport. Well, now we turn back to our